All right, let's talk about arpeggios and triads. Kind of see that not all arpeggios are triads, but any triad can be played as an arpeggio. So what I mean by this is, if you take a C chord and we take the first three notes of that chord, which would be the A string, your C, and then the D string, your E, and then the open G. Right now let's imagine that we had to fret the G string back here, right? Because we can move this shape up. So if I take this C chord now, I'm going to refinger with my pinky, then my ring finger there on the second fret of the D string, and then my index back here behind the nut on the G string, okay? So if we take this and move this shape up, each finger goes up one fret. Well, now it's a C sharp. Now we're going to move it up one more. And now we're at a D, because if you go up a whole step from a C, it becomes a D. So now where I'm going with this here is that you can hear now, when I just pick those notes individually, I've arpeggiated this triad. Okay? Now, I can hold my fingers down and do it, but I can also pick each one individually. I could even sweep it too. And some people, I do recommend experimenting, sweeping with your ring, middle, and index. Kind of work both of them, right? Okay, now, so this would be a triad because we have the three notes of, in this case, the D chord. We have D, F sharp, and A. Those three notes are on three adjacent strings, okay? Now, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna understand how to move notes to different strings to be able to play it in a different way. So in this case, so remember, this is D, the notes that make up a D chord are D, F sharp, and A. Those are the three notes that make up D chord. So we're gonna take the A here, that's the second fret of the G string, and we're gonna move that to the 5th fret of the D string. But these two notes that you played here, the D and the, you're still going to play those. We're going to have to rearrange our fingering. Now I'm going to put my middle finger on the D at the 5th fret of the A string. My index will play the F sharp at the 4th fret of the D, and then my pinky plays the 7th fret of the D string, the A. D, F sharp, A. It's the same three notes. But now it is not a triad anymore because we now have two notes on one string. So the best we can do with this now is we can just turn it into an arpeggio, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the F sharp and we're going to move that to the 9th fret of the A string. So we will still play from this one here, the one we just did, we will still play the first note and the last one. So the D and the A will still get played, but now we're going to add in the F sharp here. So again, we have to rearrange our fingers. Now we put our first finger on the D at the 5th fret of the A string, and our pinky, and there's a few different ways we can finger this, but for now, I'm just going to have you go with the pinky then on the F sharp at the 9th fret of the A string, and then our middle finger or ring will play the 7th fret of the D string, the A again. So again, we get the same three notes, D, F sharp, A. So once again, this is just an arpeggio, not a triad. But here's the thing, maybe some of you have caught on to this, and that is that we never changed the root. That we used this 5th fret of the 5th fret of the A string for all three of these. So we went like this first. We had D, F sharp, A. This is a triad because we have three notes on three different strings. Then we moved the A up to the 7th fret of the D string, and then we had that again, same root note, just rearranged my fingers, and then we moved the F sharp up from here, the 4th fret of the D to the 9th fret of the A. Again, I'm going to rearrange my fingers, but once again, I still played the root here, the D on the 5th fret of the A string. Okay, now, so there's a lot more to this, and I don't want to make this a long lesson. I don't want to overwhelm anybody here, but here's the thing though too with this is that, this stuff has to become musical. So what's the point? What's the reason of learning what I'm trying to show you? Well, there's a lot of reasons why you can learn this. I mean, if it's just a triad, obviously I have a cool have something I can use for a rhythmical, you know, something rhythmical, right? But a triad doesn't, you don't have to just use a triad just for rhythm, right? Because if I'm playing something in D, I can see that then I have my 3 notes of the chord, right? Now what I'm doing here is, and I've done this in other videos, is where essentially I'm seeing the arpeggio around the scale. In this case, this is a D major. So you see, I see the D here and the D at the 3rd fret of the B string. So that's the octave, and I'm just playing a scale, the D major scale, from this D to that D. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So to make things musical, and I'm not getting too deep in this, but you know, to play the arpeggio up and then bring the scale down. See how interesting that sounds? So again, I'm using devices and stuff, you know. Right? Okay. Now if I move it up here, I get, you know, the next one we did was this. So once again, I'm going to see a scale now from this D to that D. Okay? So once again, if I play the arpeggio up, I'm going to bring the scale down. Right? So again, you start to see how musical that becomes when I combine the arpeggio with the scale, and I do use my melodic devices, you know, sliding, hammer-ons, bending, all that stuff, right? Then if I move the last one we did, which was this, so now the scale becomes, again, this is same 2 roots, the Ds, but this time it's like that. So the arpeggio up, scale down, right? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn a backing track on here that's in the key of D, and I'm just going to mess around in these 3 positions, and I'm just going to use the arpeggios and just try to be musical with it, right? Okay, so here we go. This is a pop rock D. So it's going A to D to B minor, and then the E minor. And I'm not really going to worry too much about the chords. I'm going to use feel, but I'm going to overall base everything upon this D arpeggio and the scale. So here we go. So something, you know. Yeah, the same. Right? Okay, so now I'm going to move it up to the next position here. This one, right? Okay. And I'll just kind of mess with it here. Might lead to something different, right? Okay, so here comes the A. And then we're back to the beginning here. So here we go. Okay, now the last position, okay, so it was this one, right? Okay, so once again, this will probably lend to a few different ideas here too, okay? So here comes the A, and now we're coming back around, so here we go. So, So again, you know, I find it very important to, you know, when I, especially with my students when I teach, is that when I show something like this, that you have to put it into some type of musical context, so the student, the person, has a better understanding of why they're learning this. Because if I would have just come on here and just said, okay, here's a D arpeggio or triad, here's one, and then you do it here, and then you do it here, and then ended the video, like there would be no point of reference for, you know, usage, or, you know, how do you actually put it into real world use, right? Okay. Now again, I'm not going as deep with this because I don't want to make the video very long. I mean, there's more to it than what I did. But the gist of what I did was to understand, the main thing here is to make sure you realize that a couple things, again, that how you can move a note to an adjacent string and get a different fingering, which will make you want to do different things, right? And the other thing would just to be to realize that not all arpeggios are triads, right? So any triad can be arpeggiated. You know, if I take this basic D chord here, right, and I just do that, I've just arpeggiated the chord, because the arpeggio is simply a broken chord, right? But then we have ways of putting two notes on one string. Now I'm arpeggiating, I have no choice. So think about this concept and try to do it with other chords, right? And I think the next video I do will be moving shapes across the neck. All right, hope this helps out some. If you have any questions, let me know. Check out steveanthus.com. Go on, I have more YouTube videos. Email me if you need a lesson. Thank you.